What's up, Grace?
Eric, how are you?
It's Monday. Do you know what time that is?
It is time. It's time. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm Eric, Idiot Runner Kosek.
And I'm Grace, Hot Pants Langheim. Eric is all business in the front of the pack, and I am all about the party in the back.
That's right. Business up front and party in the back. Together, we are the Running Mullet.
And we are going to talk about every aspect of running, the podium to the DNF and everything in between.
If you are a runner, this show is for you. Now sit back, get out your foam roller, and enjoy the party. What's up?
Look at that intro. We're like pros.
I know. Come on. For those of you that are not going to watch this video and listen to us on the podcast form on your runs and stuff like that, that's totally cool. But you should see the intro. I don't know. I think it's pretty amazing for a couple idiots just doing a silly show on a Monday night.
Sure is.
Shout out to Matt Johnson again for hooking us up with that, putting that together. It took him some time this weekend, but it's pretty freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
How you doing, Grace?
Hey, you have echo on your side, by the way. Do you have YouTube open? If you do, close it.
No, I don't. Do I still have echo?
Only when I talk. Nope, it's gone. Okay, we're good.
All right.
So, I did that for everybody's sanity.
Yeah.
So, I'm getting over being sick. I got sick with a head cold, which I don't know about you, but this happens not after every ultra, but sometimes after ultras I get sick, which I did not know when I first started running is a real thing. Do you ever get sick after?
I don't get sick too much after the races. More for me, it's like phantom sicknesses leading up to. Probably it's more in my head and stuff, and I make these things come on that at a horrible time when it's like pure panic can set in.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, all your chemicals kind of switch over before because you're tapering. Afterwards, you become a lot of people, not necessarily everybody, but a lot of people become immunosuppressed after big races. So that happened to me, I think, and I have a head cold and I sound terrible. And you probably heard me when I was worse last week, and now I'm on the mend. I'm getting better. My head's still not with it, but I'm all right. Do you still run when you're sick?
Oh, that's a good question. I use that to my best judgment. I am not a fan of trying to run the sickness out of you, and I'm not a believer in that. If you don't feel great, I think you should let your body rest and do its thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not a doctor, so these statements aren't approved.
You are. I can vouch for you that you are indeed not a doctor.
So, I run if I feel good enough to where it's not good. I don't feel like it's going to put me in the hole or put me back at all, but I am a very strong supporter of just let your body's trying to tell you something to begin with. Just let it, give it a break, you know?
Yeah.
The gains you're going to get from those miles are negligible compared to just letting yourself get better.
Yeah. And I love the comments coming in. Kip, that's right about when it hit me. Kip said he gets sick about 2 weeks after like marathon plus distances. And that's about when it hit me. It was like 10 days after. Yeah, 10, 12 days after I got this head cold. I'm like, I think this is what it is I got immunosuppressed. But I'm not a big fan either. There's some articles out there from various sources who will say, yeah, if you have symptoms above the neck, then go for it. And I don't know, I'm not a big, I'd say let your body rest. Unless I think there's some times where like mentally you need it or for whatever reason, like maybe you got that group run, you've been planning on this and it's going to be a lot of fun and you're not in real bad shape or anything like that. So there's some times where I still run even if I'm a little sick, but for the most part I take time off. May as well.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, this kind of leads right into probably one of the subjects we wanted to hit on was, you know, post race feelings and, you know, getting sick, and do you get depressed, or is it just a living on cloud nine feeling for weeks after, and how to handle it, right?
The post race blues.
Yeah.
I've gotten them. Have you gotten the post race blues?
So the bigger the race is for me, the bigger the depression is. And I'll call it post race blues because I don't want to say depression, but it feel I'm very sad and pouty pout face. I really am.
Eric pouty pout face Kosek.
Yeah, I mean, the more hyped up I am for this huge thing that I'm about to do that scares me and that I planned for and that I've gotten plane tickets, everything comes together and boom, and then it's over just like that. And it's like, oh man. And you know what? You might have this experience just as much as me, but the races that I put on, the runs that I put on, the fun events that I put on here, the idiot runner stuff, that's the worst of it all. Because I have these people that are apparently my friends that all come to my house for this biggest 2 events of the year for me. And my house is one big party with these people that act like they like me. And then before I know it, everybody's gone. And it's like all the lead up to it and buying all the stuff is done. So I, just so you know, for the record, like, and you can ask Becky, I'm a disastrous wreck the day after those events.
Yeah. Post race directing blues, post race blues. Both of them hit me, and I think you hit it. Is the bigger the race, the bigger the deal it is, the harder it hits. And Kara, you put in there in the chat, I sign up for races right after I finish one. I mean, I do the same thing, and even before I finish it, I'm signing up for something else because, like, just to keep my head in the game, I get those post race blues for sure, and sometimes you don't even realize it until later on. You're like, oh man, I was a little down in the dumps there. I don't know. And post race director blues, I think the worst part, you finish up because you do races at your house. I don't have any at my house, thankfully. That would be a very short race.
They're not races, Grace. They're more
they're not. They're fun runs.
They're events. Not events. What do I call them? Somebody used to, I don't know.
They're not races, but they're you know, when people, you have some trails nearby your house.
There you go.
And people sometimes you have get-togethers where people run the trails together.
They just happen to show up on the same day. Yeah, it's like it's crazy. Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah.
So when those happen, when I race direct, I'm always somewhere else and packing up my car, and I'm always the last person to leave because I got to make sure that everything's taken care of. And being the last person to leave is just it's so sad. It's real, like everybody's pumped up and you're getting everybody excited, and you see people coming across the finish line and they're puking or they're crying and there's so much emotion, and then you're all alone, just driving away in your car. There's a lot of flags.
Yeah, it's horrible. And that's what I mean. My garage, my as people call it, my barn, where everything's centered and the aid station is, you know, it is a fun party for what we've had up to 24 hours at this point. And then the last person leaves and I go in there and it's cold and there's wrappers everywhere and it's nothing but work to clean up. And there's smelly socks that I have no idea where they came from. And it's just, it's so sad. Mittens, lots of mittens, clothing. And a lot of times I just kind of just rub it all over my body and it makes me feel better.
That makes me want to be more strategic about the things that I do leave behind. I think this will be a fun challenge. to see what we can leave behind, just to see what ends up there. I like this. So,
yeah, but the race depression is certainly a thing, and it's fun to talk with people about it, and even it helps to talk with people about it, even the people that have done the same race you did. Yeah, it's just so for me, like a lot of people are saying the first thing they do is sign up for another race. And I agree. I don't rush to do it, but man, part of the fun and the whole everything coming together of these bigger type races and even destination races is shopping for the best plane ticket and figuring out where your house is going to be, that type of thing, and if it's big enough. So once that's all in order and stuff, and the race is done, man, it's like, well, I got to do something with my free time.
Yeah. Then other than like real life, because real life is dumb. So,
yeah.
I think joining group runs, I always support that, finding other people, but I think you're spot on. It's like talking to other people who've been through the same thing is really helpful, especially doing, my first big multi-day, doing my FKT. That was tough. Like I'm out in the woods all day for several days, and then I come back and I have to do like work, which sounds terrible. I don't want to work. That was very depressing, but it was helpful. I had people like you to reach out to who'd done something similar before, that was really good. But
yeah, I mean, I've gotten these bigger races out west, the few that I've been lucky enough to do. And, for me and my family, it's a vacation too. So on top of that, it's like, I'm looking forward to this week off of work where I'm going to be suffering the whole time, but it's still a vacation for me. It's doing what I love. So it's even worse. It's like, I got to go back to work and my vacation's over and my race is over. Like, oh, my whole life is over. Like, where do you have to pick up the pieces?
Yeah, we have to pick up the pieces and not dwell here too long. This is just sad. Let's go somewhere fun. Hey,
so is there anything that you found that you ingest or anything that helps you with these feelings? I mean, like, obviously as coaches, I would say, boy, after a race, make sure you're hydrating enough, make sure you're eating plenty of the calories and things like that. But there's not really any set thing as far as recovery from your mental state that's talked about too often. I don't think. Maybe I'm just not listening to it.
Yeah, I think I think one of the hard things is several of us use the routine of running itself it's just a part of our lives, right? Yep. And part of recovery may include not running. That might be the smartest thing to do, is to not run. So I think it's important to still include some of that routine, but it needs to be different activities. So it's, okay, instead of running in the morning, I'm going to make sure that I foam roll in the morning. So I'm still doing something that's servicing my physical and emotional health. Or a big thing that I do, I tell you what, I go for a lot of walks. And I went for a walk with my friend Lacey yesterday. She messaged me, hey, do you want to go for a quick hike? Absolutely. And I think we don't talk about walking. And I went for a walk today, actually. We don't talk about walking very much. It's like, man, if it's not a run, then it's not good enough somehow. And walking is just a great thing to go out and still do with friends and still get outside. And a lot of times during recovery, even for big distances, for 100 mile plus, walking can still be incredibly helpful for recovery. And, you got to consider the terrain and all of those things and how your body's feeling and making sure that you're not in injury zone. But I think that walking and keeping a physical routine, even though it's not running, can be helpful. And then, like you said, make sure you're hydrated, lots of protein, and still in whatever form that is. And then still making sure that I go down the path of eating an entire box of Girl Scout cookies. Don't do that. Sometimes.
No, I mean, if you earned it, you earned it. There's no denying that. And obviously one other thing to add in, and I'm sure most people do, is sleep a lot. Sleep. If that's at work, then who cares? Just if your boss wakes you up, just be like, look, dude, I just ran 100 miles. Like, back off. Really?
Like, do you understand? Do you understand?
If you don't understand, get out right now. Yeah.
I should have half marathon, buddy.
Yeah.
You done a half marathon? Like whatever distance it is, it's always okay.
Hey, Max. Hey, quick shout out to, I have like several cross country kids tuning in right now. Not cross country, track currently, track. So I want to shout out to them. Hey, thanks for tuning in and spending your evening with us.
Heck yeah.
Let's see. What are we talking about? Oh, so your half marathon you ran this weekend. You were on sweeping duty, correct?
Correct.
Pre-sweeping duty, right?
I did pre-sweeping.
Yeah.
I did pre-sweeping, and I tell you what, I wanted to. I'm glad you brought this up because I did pre-sweeping Saturday morning, and I had a couple people ask me what pre-sweeping was and what sweeping is. And I tell you what, if you want to do something fun, if you are looking for a no-cost way to do a race, go ask a race director if you can pre-sweep or if you can sweep their course for them. So I have a friend, Vanessa Klein. She is awesome. She's a race director for Beast Coast Productions. And I reached out to her. I was like, hey, do you have a sweeper for your race this weekend? She said, yeah, I have plenty of sweepers, but I don't have a pre-sweeper. You want to be there at 6 a.m.? I said, absolutely. So I came and I got to experience the course, but I didn't have to pay for it, which is kind of cool. And I got to help out a friend. So pre-sweeping, let's start off with pre-sweeping is checking the course ahead of time. So typically during these races and some of these big races, especially out west, race directors will spend up to a week marking a course ahead of time. And in between those days, sometimes people come along and they think that they're cleaning up trash and they actually take all of your markings down. Or there might be a big tree that came down in the middle of the night. Something can happen before the start time of the race. So Vanessa had already marked her course the day before, but it's always good the morning of, and this is a busy area. This is over at French Creek State Park. A lot of hikers, a lot of runners coming through that area. So I came in at 6 a.m., lollipop course. So I do the stick and I make my way around. And so what I took with me, she gave me some flagging materials just in case it needed a little bit of extra flagging here or there. And I did put a couple of more extra ribbons up. And I'm checking to see if there's any big blowdowns with trees, which we didn't have any, but there were a couple of sticks that I moved out of the way that were just annoying, especially for the first runners coming through. And I made sure that I had plenty with me because none of the aid stations were up yet. So if you ever pre-sweep, you know, you're kind of solo out there, and you're getting flagging and making sure that everything looks good. So if you ever want to check out a course and do it for free, you can reach out to any race director. Sometimes they already have pre-sweepers. Sometimes they don't. It's a great way to get out in a workout and check out some new terrain. I'd never done that course before. It was actually beautiful. I loved it. It's a Big Woods half marathon. Highly recommend it. And then sweeping is.
Hold on. Before you describe it, we had talked about the fact that you had pre-swept this week and got a bunch of miles in. And it got me thinking, you're going to get into sweeping the course, what do you call it, post-race sweeping? So I've never done either, but I'd like to, and I've never, knock on wood, I've never had to worry about either, or worry about, you know, looking back and possibly seeing that course sweeper coming up behind me, being that I'm the last person. So in my head, as I'm thinking about this and trying to figure out how it works and stuff, is it true that the course sweeper would kind of resemble like the Grim Reaper?
Sometimes they do, yes.
Now, and now I'm asking you this because you're the party in the back, okay? So this is the best person to ask. I mean, in my head, I'm like, if I'm that last person, I keep looking back and I run faster to go around the curve, and every time I look back, that Grim Reaper is right there with their big smile and their ribbons that they're tearing off the trees, and it's got to be a pretty scary feeling.
I don't think so.
No? Well, that's because you're probably cheering them on and throwing candy at them and stuff.
Sweepers are great. I love sweepers. Although I did see one year I was at Algonquin, and Algonquin I've never I wasn't afraid of, well, I was afraid of being swept there one time when I did the duck, but it kind of has this out and back section of the course so you can see the back of the pack. And they're sweepers. I don't know if it's the same people every year, but I remember at least one year they were dressed as Grim Reapers. Yes.
So that's a good guess as to what it feels like. I mean, it's got to be for some people. I mean, I know everybody's in different state of minds towards the back of the pack, but if the race isn't going your way,
here's what I think.
Yep.
I think by the time you see a sweeper, you already know it's over. Yeah. like you've been doing the math. If you know you're in the back of the pack and you're chasing cutoffs, you're looking at your watch and when by the time the sweeper comes, you've gone through the 7 stages of grief at that point, and you're back on a high, and you're like, okay, this is fine. All of this is fine. Love it.
Right.
So, Amy popped something into the chat. When you're pre-sweeping, you should also have a map of the course, and that is correct, Amy. I did have GPX loaded onto my watch, and I had the file on my phone in case I wanted to check it out ahead of time. So spot on. You want to have that map ready to go. But so you've never been in danger of being swept before?
Eric? No, I don't think so.
Not yet. Not yet.
It's going to come. That's going to be okay.
We still have time. You've got to.
No, I would like to sweep a course, and even pre-sweep a course. It doesn't matter. I haven't done either, but I certainly would like to do it, and that would force me to get into the party of the mullet. So I got to get my butt out there.
Yeah. So I have so many fun stories about sweeping. I will tell you one of them. Some sweepers are, a lot of times sweepers come along well after the last runner, especially if you're sweeping the beginning of a course. So some people, sweepers, let's just start with what that person does is they literally come behind the last runner and check the course to make sure that everybody's okay. So if you're the last runner and you end up being injured, you want to hope that there's somebody behind you who will check in on you. And that's exactly what the sweeper does. They also might pull all the flags from the course. Sometimes they do that the next day. So it kind of depends on the race director. Sometimes people will sweep an entire course. Sometimes they only sweep a section of course. So it's kind of up to that race director on how they want to manage their sweeping. But most trail races and even road races will have somebody checking at the back of the pack to make sure that everybody's okay. So when you're ready to sweep, Eric, I got directions for you, buddy. One, it's a good idea to bring along a small first aid kit because you never know, you might need it. You want the race director's phone number so you can call that race director and let them know if you do encounter somebody who needs some help. And then you may or may not be pulling flags, so you might need a bag or a pack or something to put all those flags into. And you're checking to make sure that everything's taken care of and shipshape and wrapped up. So I got one of my best sweeping stories for you. You ready for this?
Yeah, make it quick. TikTok.
Stop it.
Okay, sorry.
It's going to be so great. You're going to love it.
Go.
I was sweeping for one of Don's races. I think Don is kind of done race directing. He hasn't had one in a while, but he does some fat ass races west of me. And we'll talk about fat ass races at some point too and describe what those are. But we were sweeping just the first section, which was like 7 miles. And it was me, I get there, and then this other guy named Lou. And Don says to me, Grace, I want you to show Lou what to do. He's very new to trail running. He's been a Spartan racer for a long time. So he's physically in good condition, but he's never really done trail running. He wants to get into it. So I thought you could show him the ropes. I'm like, absolutely. I am ready when you are, Lou. Let's do this. And we watch the runners go, and now it's our job to follow the runners. And usually at the beginning of a race, nobody really needs any help, and you're not really sweeping the last person, and he didn't have any cutoffs in the beginning. So we're pulling flags. So before we start, I look over at Lou, and he's wearing a t-shirt and shorts, and I have a picture of this, and he has flip-flops on, and they're like not sturdy flip-flops. They're like the $5 flip-flops that you get at Dollar General, and he's carrying a plastic bag. And I'm like, so Lou, whenever you're ready, you can change your shoes. We'll head out there. And he goes, no, I'm good. I do everything in my flops. He's got this New Jersey accent. I'm like, all right, okay. So I guess you're gonna run in those. And he's like, yeah, I'm good. I do everything in my flops. Okay, Lou. So we're on this very technical section that's just baby doll head rocks, and they're mossy. Sure enough, I start running. He runs right behind me, and he was fine. He was totally fine in his flops. I mean, don't judge another person by their footwear, because Lou could outrun a lot of people in his flops. So we talk about everything under the sun. Super nice guy. I really enjoyed my time with him. We pull all the flags. And Amy had asked in the chat, are you walking as a sweeper or running? And it really depends on the pace of the pack. If the pack is, if the last person is doing a 30-minute mile, then you're doing a 30-minute mile. If the people are way ahead of you, then you can kind of run. So it really depends on how the pack is going along. So we get done with the 7-mile section, and basically we get to the aid station, and then the next sweepers go right after us. We get to the aid station, and there's this picnic table, and he sits at the picnic table, and he opens up this plastic bag, and there's a Stromboli in it. And he says, you want some of this boli? It's the best boli in New Jersey. I'm like,
you knew how to do it.
I'm good. It was 95 degrees. This was July.
Pre-warmed. Yeah, I like it.
Heat wave. And Lou brings along his flops and a bowling.
That's impressive.
It was impressive.
Hey, he's a minimalist. What can you say?
He's a minimalist, and that's how he rolls. And we had a great time together. So you can have a lot of fun sweeping. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you can do the course for free, which is a win. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you can pre-sweep with a friend, obviously. So there's or a couple. There's a group run and a free race all in one. Mm-hmm. And if you're sweeping the course in the back, well, you get to be the mean guy and be the Grim Reaper. So can I carry a stick and poke at people in the back, or is that frowned upon?
I mean, you could try it and see what happens.
Yeah, I think I know what's gonna happen.
I think that really, if it's Monica, I don't know how.
Yeah, I know. She's probably cussing me right now.
I wouldn't do that.
What are you talking about, dude? No, that's good stuff. I mean, I do know for a fact it's funny that you pre-swept the Big Woods group that does races down there, because they do the one in December. The Big Woods, what's it called? The fat ass one through French Creek and everything. 50K and 20 miler. Big Woods. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, he had problems with flags being taken down. And that was because it was just hunters thinking they whatever event was going on that they wasn't allowed. So sadly, it's not always by mistake. It's people that for some reason don't know trail runners, because we're awesome people and do it to be mean.
Yeah. So, that happens sometimes.
It happens. Anyway. What's next? How about
you want to talk about music?
Let's talk about music.
Okay, let's talk about music. And it's so we had already talked about this being a topic. And then I saw it in one of the groups. And for those of you listening, and there's a couple of different kind of Facebook groups where a lot of people chat, have some good discussion before and after the show. And one of them is the Idiot Runners. I know you have your own coaching Facebook group. I have my own.
Yep.
And one of the questions came up, and somebody had said, do you listen to music when running? And there was already a discussion going. And so I think we continue that discussion. Eric, do you listen to music, books, podcasts when you run?
I don't know if I've ever actually listened to a whole podcast of any sort.
You should listen to this one. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's funny you ask that, because like tomorrow, when I get to work in the morning, it's kind of slow at first, so I'll watch the whole show again, just because I don't know. I just want to critique myself and stuff like that.
You want to feel sad again about yourself?
Huh?
You want to feel sad again about
Pretty
yourself?
much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I mean, I do listen to music probably, I'm an early morning runner, so I put music in probably half the time.
Mm-hmm.
In the mornings, and just in one ear I put an earbud in, and it's the same music that I've had on my little iPod shuffle thing. I don't even know, like it's the same 30 songs that just go over and over. I'm not smart enough to know how to download music. I don't want to carry my phone.
It takes a lot of work, actually.
It does. And like I don't even know how to download a podcast.
Certifications.
Yeah, you should do one of these weekly videos just for me and how to download podcasts and music, because it's very difficult and I don't have time to fill my head up with this garbage. So to answer your question, yes, I like music in the mornings. I don't listen to music on the trails, whether it's dark or not, or with people or not. That's just, and it's just because I don't. Never have listened to music during a race, although I brought it with me for long ultras because I figured, well, because sometimes I don't see anybody for hours, and it's like, well, this is going to break up that time when I'm at a real bad low, and at least I can listen to my 30 rounds of songs over and over again. But I've never actually put it in. I kind of forget I have it and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I've never listened to it during a race.
Okay.
So I'm on both sides of the fence. I will say, and I got to throw this in there because I can't just keep my mouth shut, and I don't want to offend anybody. But one of my biggest kind of pet peeves are the speakers that you can hear.
Yeah.
So, like, I know it's only a couple seconds I'm passing you, person, but maybe I didn't want that song in my head. Maybe, just maybe, I didn't want to hear that song. Right. And it's like, I just don't know why, and it's okay. Everybody can have their opinions and do it.
Yeah. I think it makes for a good story. I went, that happened to me at Conquer the Wall. This guy came up to me. I was alone, and there was two gentlemen, and one of them was playing music out loud. And he comes up and he's like, "All right, I got a song for you. I got a song for you. I'm going to play it right now." And I think he like totally misjudged my age and thought I was younger than I am. And he played a song that I absolutely hated. Perfect. Yeah. And I was like, "This is not working for me, buddy."
That's kind of exactly what I mean. Like, and yeah. I think we all know, like, it takes very little to trigger good or bad when you're at a vulnerable spot in a long ultra,
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is it doesn't take much when you're in a long ultra, somehow. I say this all the time. One of my favorite people who crews me is my friend Lacey. And I love it when she crews me because she is a nurse for disabled children. And that is what I become when I am in ultras, is a disabled child. Like, right. I cannot think straight. I act like a child when I'm out there, and I need people to like put lube on me. And so I think that little things like music can really, really affect you in a race. And I'm not a big fan of the out loud music either. But I'm spot on with you. Sometimes I listen to music, although I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to audiobooks. Absolutely. One that was a lot of fun. I'm not going to be able to remember the name of it. Oh, I listened to a Pet Cemetery at night in the woods. That was a lot of fun. So music, I think, can be a big boost. Music is very, like, growing up, I was not a runner at all. I was a dancer, and music has always been a big part of my life. And I get very emotionally connected to music. So being able to run with music to me is like a soundtrack, and it just boosts me up. Even when I swim, I'll listen to music. Last week I was swimming and Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger by Daft Punk came on. And I was just like, is it one of them?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can guess all 30 songs. This will be fun.
It's a lot of stuff like that. It's motivation. I think, I don't know, you wouldn't believe what some stuff's on there. I mean, I got like Miley Cyrus on there, I think, somewhere.
Oh, that is terrible.
Yeah, there's some bad stuff.
Do that list.
But anyway, so to get back to podcasts, how do I download a podcast and then listen to it without my phone? Is there a magic earbud I can put the podcast in?
This is a much larger conversation about what devices you have available to you.
Oh, I just need it small. I don't want to carry stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a different conversation. That's a lot of work. We'll figure this out for you, buddy. But anyway, podcasts, books, music. And I also love racing without any music at all. I enjoy that too. There were a couple of people in the chat. I thought it was interesting. They would said like, never having headphones, because I always like to make sure that I'm aware. And I was thinking, right, what about treadmills? Like, there are situations where you're running and you truly don't have to worry about your surroundings around you. Because on a treadmill, you're probably going to be fine. You could be attacked by the person next to you on a treadmill, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there are situations where people can do just fine with headphones. And I use the open ear concept ones, which are really great because I can hear what's going on around me for the most part, which is really nice. And I also love just listening to the sounds of nature too. I love that too.
Yeah, I mean, I always just use one earbud, and I think some people will say it makes them dizzy or sick, or I don't know, but I've never had a problem with just listening in one ear and then in a quiet, I don't jam it out either.
Yeah.
Just so I can hear the music, and then the other, I can hear traffic just fine, and
yeah,
bears running out of the woods and trying to jump on me fine. So
yeah, I've never had a problem with, like, I can hear people when they're talking to me and all that stuff. So I've never had a problem with it. I was listening to a podcast, and there was a person who normally I really love listening to, and they made a comment. They said something about research that came out that said you run slower when you listen to music. And I don't remember where I was, but I very loudly said, bull crap. And yeah, he like he was like, no, I'm just kidding. I just wish a study would say that. And I'm like, that's not even fair, man. I think it's all about whatever works for you, and for me, I love listening to techno. I get into a zone and I listen to like it's like it feels like a soundtrack. Like that's what I listen to when I'm out there. It feels like I'm in a movie, and puts me into this whole other space where I don't worry about work and I don't worry about like laundry and all the other things that are going on. I just get lost in the music and my feet, and then the trail and the rocks, and it's a really cool feeling. And I think that some people enjoy it and some people don't, and you do whatever you want to do,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, obviously your own thoughts you can kind of get mixed up in your own thoughts when you're running, but
that's right.
Not every run in the morning is like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. A lot of times I just like, oh man, this is going slow. I wish the miles would go faster. Yeah. But just having this podcast, this video, I guess we call it a podcast that you and I are doing. Yeah. I found myself the past couple of weeks, several mornings, like a couple miles would fly by because I'm just thinking about this and what we could talk about and how we can make it better and things like that. And man, it's just like I'm in another world, and then I snap out of it. It's like, holy crap. I need to start thinking about stuff more when I run, not just looking at the road.
Yeah, I love it. I love kind of zoning out to everything. And right now I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm listening to A Walk in the Woods, which is a guy who walked the Appalachian Trail in the 80s.
Bill Bryson or something, right?
Yeah. So I'm listening to that while I'm hiking or something like that. It's like a cool experience to listen to books like that, or podcasts, or like I said, I listen to trance music, and I don't listen to trance music any other time in my life except when I'm out. And there have been plenty of times where I move faster because I'm listening to music, and then there's plenty of times where I also have to like turn off the podcast, focus on my speed work. So yeah,
right.
That's a lot of fun.
All right, Grace, come on. I don't know where this time goes.
Oh,
hey,
I'm hungry.
Who do you have a crush on?
Oh, running crushes. Love it. Yeah. I mean, everybody has a crush. Let's all say it together now. I have a running crush on Rhoda Smoker. That's it. Everybody.
That's your number one.
That's number one. That's everybody's number one.
Yeah, my wife would agree with that.
It cracks me up every time. I was at Packet Pickup for Eastern States. And no, it was after Eastern States. I was hanging out with Chad. Chad and I drank a lot. It was very fun. So we were hanging out at the finish line, and there's Rhoda just sitting in this chair, and these biceps are just awesome. And she's got this gigantic Cocodona belt buckle. I'm like, man, if that's not just the epitome of cool, like that's number one running crush. I even got a text from a friend one time. It was like, is it wrong if I have a crush on Rhoda Smoker? I said, absolutely not. We are starting a fan club. We all have a crush on Rhoda.
Yeah.
And then your wife. I definitely have a crush on your wife. She's amazing.
Me too. Who else? Who else? How about like elite? I guess let's do this quick, but what elite runner are you like gaga over?
Still Rhoda Smoker, but that's a tough one. I mean, everybody loves Courtney. She's amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be mine.
Yeah, and then what? I didn't write. I should have written this down ahead of time. Hold on.
No. That's not how this show works.
Liz Canty. I love Liz Canty. I think she's amazing. I think she is a beast. I love that she runs on both coasts, and she does awesome on both coasts. And I did meet her for a hot second. And I was like, can I have a picture with you? And she totally did. And she was very sweet and nice and put her arm around me. And that was just a nice thing for her to do. So I'm going to go with Liz Canty as my.
Okay. I'm going with Courtney as my elite type runner. I met her when I ran Tahoe 200. And she's just another person, and she was really cool, and hung out with my girls and actually talked with them for a while at the finish line, and actually wrote back and forth to Lauren like pen pals for quite a while, which is, I mean, come on, an
amazing human. And she was a teacher, just like your wife.
Yeah. Yep. So she's my elite one. Non-elite, I mean, I don't even want to say non-elite. I don't want to put, we're all elites. Chad Brown, I kind of have a crush on him. But who doesn't?
Chad Brown has a crush on everybody.
Yeah, I know. I don't need to have a crush on him. I'm hoping he already has one of me.
You have a beard crush. You probably have a beard crush on Chad Brown.
Yeah. No, but when we brought this up, crushes, it's, for me, I don't know. Like when I got into running, there's all these people I looked up to. Mm-hmm. And I put them on these pedestals, and it's just the person I am. No matter how much I get to know them, this is how I remember them from this first time. Right. So I guess it's a good example of how first impressions can leave a lasting mark on how you know somebody. But the amazing thing to me is many of these people are very, very, very good friends now. And it still blows my mind. I have to pinch myself sometimes and be like, I can't believe I can't believe Rhoda Smoker was at my house this weekend.
It's insane.
I can't believe I'm doing a podcast with Grace. I can't believe I'm going on a trip with John Johnson.
Right.
Well, to me, it's just, it amazes me. And it's like, I don't have one crush, but those are the type of crushes I have, are these people. It's probably because the type of people they are when I met them, and it's never left, nor will it ever leave. And I meet other people along the way that are still up on that pedestal, very good runners, or for whatever reason, it might just be the situation, but they're automatically added to that collection that I could never remove them from that collection.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's so wild that in our sport, we get to run with people who we really look up to. Yeah. And I think that's the other cool thing, is like, you can look up to people from the front of the pack and the back of the pack and just look at so much awesomeness and effort the whole way through.
Yeah. Kip Hoffman, who's a very strong supporter of Idiot Runner. He's been to every single Idiot Runner race, and he's on here tonight commenting. That dude, Kip, I'm sorry, I don't know what the actual time he ran Boston in, but he ran a marathon extremely fast, like something I could only dream of. Right. And he's just another dude like that comes to my house and hangs out in my garage.
Yeah. Well, Shannon's one who, she'll run with me, and I know that her pace is so much faster than mine. And she does not make me feel bad about it. She doesn't give any indication whatsoever, but she is incredibly fast. Oh, and she was a sponsored athlete for a bit there, Shannon is fast as shit. And I get to run with her, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to come up and run with me?" I'm like, "Yes, thank you for having me in your world." And she's just a really super nice person too. Like,
it comes back to, I guess, the humbleness of everybody. We went through this conversation, and I'm going to try to not be so humble and this and that, but the trail runners that you meet and you become connected to and become family more than friends is just incredible. So I seriously thought about, man, who are my actual crushes, like top 3 crushes? And it's impossible for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we still haven't gotten to how we met. I think we should have Chad on for that episode, because he has a lot to do with it. But that was a big part of, I remember before we met, Chad had asked me, he's like, "You ever heard of Becky and Eric Kosak?" And I'm like, yes. Do I want to marry Becky? Yes. And Eric can tend the garden or something? Absolutely. And then we got to meet in person, and now we have a podcast together. Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. Because I heard about you two before you were on a podcast, but the two of you were interviewed on a podcast together. And I'd heard your names before that, but then I got to hear the two of you on the podcast. So that was pretty cool. Like, I get to hear the two of you on a podcast, and now we're on a podcast.
Right.
Oh, it's so meta.
Well, we need to at least talk about how big this garden can be. I mean, if it's big enough, then it's worth it, but I don't know.
All the friends. All
right. We're running long.
Yeah.
I got to do a drawing real quick.
Oh, yes. That's right.
So I put the post out about badass females signing up for a race that would scare them, right?
Yeah.
Idiot Runner's going to pay their registration.
Yeah.
So I have a number of people in there, females, and I'm picking one. And if they do the race, I'll pay for the registration.
Nice.
Bailey Snyder for Antelope Canyon 50.
Yeah. Boy.
All right, there it is. So that was fun. Good job, Bailey. You better do the race.
Yeah.
So what you doing this weekend?
Ooh, volunteering at another race. This time I'm doing registration and an aid station. So I'm super excited to go Rattling Creek Run, which I've heard rumors might be the last year for Rattling Creek Run. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to head up there. What are you doing?
Nice. housework. I know nobody wants to hear that, but like I got myself uploaded with like big projects that I got to finish, cabinets and countertops and rooms need painted floors. But anyway, Boston's 3 weeks from today. So I guess I gotta do like a last big long run and then pull it out. I don't know.
Yeah, we got to talk about race planning soon, and I want to hear your plan.
Oh man, that's not going to be a good conversation, Grace.
I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation.
Oh, okay.
I want to hear how little you've planned.
Yeah, we should have plenty more to talk about next week besides my Boston training, my Boston planning, I mean.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. Good show. Thanks for checking in, everybody. We appreciate you. This was like, I believe, a record number of live viewers, which means a lot to me and us. So thank you.
It does. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Next Monday. Bye.
Bye.